Hello, good evening, welcome to the programme. Thought we'd do something a bit different tonight, on a night which is certainly different weather-wise. Both our guests have managed to swim their way here into the studio this evening, and instead of a green room, we've had a drying room to get them ready for the show. Hope you're ready as well. We're going to do something a bit unusual in the cases of both guests this evening. Got the manager of one of our local non-league teams here in the studio. So what, you might say, it's actually the manager of Dronfield Town. But they are very unusual in that they're one of very few, if not the only club at their level of the pyramid, which I think is level 10 of the football pyramid, which is a semi-pro club. You think of the meaning of semi-pro. Doesn't actually pay their players, doesn't pay their manager, Chris Millington, either. Good evening, Chris, and welcome. And also a good evening and a very hearty welcome to Matt Exton, by popular demand of many of your fellow Wednesdayites, including, I've just discovered, the gentleman sitting to your right, who happens to be an Owls fan as well. He said that works out well. I said that works out badly because I like to have a balanced sofa here. But Matt Exton, as many of you will know, has produced a highly acclaimed film about Sheffield Wednesday called Wednesday, and it screened for the first time just in the building along from us here next door in the showroom, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think it was on the 4th of September. So it was the club's 151st birthday, so it was kind of like to round up the 150th celebrations that it was done for. Right,
I'm delighted to say that, courtesy of you, we're going to have 2 or 3 clips to air from that film tonight. It's not the last we're going to hear about it either, because I think there are plans to have it in various forms going forward as well, online and stuff like that.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Well, the reaction to it has been, you've not seen it yet?
No, not yet, no.
The reaction has been, when I look at my Twitter feed, when I looked at the time, every other message was about it, and people, those that were there, I think 200, the initial audience, you know, were very warmly in favour of it. I think there were even a few tears about it. It made people so emotional about the experience of following a football club.
Yeah, I mean, like it was quite tricky, that bit, because I did a Q&A just before it with Mark from BBC, Mark Clements, is it?
Mark Clement, yes.
And
he hosted it.
I kind of I've never done any kind of media training or anything, so I was kind of like just put on stage with it. Like it was a bit sort of like surreal for me. And yeah, he just kind of fired this question about these poignant moments. I just ended up bursting out into tears in front of everyone. So that wasn't a great start. But no, yeah, there is some poignant moments in it. Yeah, and yeah, it's kind of got a bit of a mixture of everything really. Some highs, some lows, and yeah, some stuff that goes sort of beyond football, more towards the kind of family side of it as well.
Yeah, it is about the fans in the end, football. And that's the perspective of your film, from a fan's perspective, the ups and downs of following a football team over a lot of years, and you do go back quite a long way.
Well, yeah, I think that was the initial thing, was to not really feature anything to do with the club in terms of players, managers, because you kind of get players come and go, and you also, I think the fans kind of sometimes get a little bit kind of, I wouldn't say ignored, but kind of like, obviously the limelight's always, especially in today's world with the media, it's kind of all towards the players, the team, the setup, and you know the fans are the ones that are there who, you know, through thick and thin, who kind of like have seen some, you know, some good, some bad, and are there to kind of tell the stories of it. So it's, from a fan's perspective, it certainly kind of that was the plan for it. Yeah.
Well, they can be forgotten, but they're the lifeblood. And Sheffield Wednesday have actually warmly acknowledged your film as well. So you've collaborated with the club. So we'll talk more about that later. I'm going to bring you in now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I knew you wouldn't mind. I just discovered it's your team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Chris Millington, manager of Dronfield Town FC, who I had the pleasure of seeing win a game a few weeks ago, first ever visit. And you're in the North Counties East League Division 1. I've got that right. And you're 4th in the table.
We are, currently, we've had a good start. So we've played 7 altogether. We've played 1 in the Vars, and we've played 6 league games and won 5 of them. So yeah, it's a really good start for us.
Now, when you look at the budget, which is 0, You should be bottom, shouldn't you, really?
Well, yeah, if it was only that easy, I think. No, some people might say that. I think that there's a lot to be said for how much you pay players. I think there's other contributing factors that why people play football at that level. And there's no right way or there's no wrong way. It's just a way that we, as a club, we believe that the club's there for the community and we've got from under 7s to over 45, so we've got over 350 people playing for the club, and that first team's there to hopefully get more young people from Dronfield playing football at a really good level. So
as a flagship. Now, how unusual is it? I mean, I immediately when I came and visited and I heard this from one of your committee guys, I couldn't believe it. I imagined that you would get paid. I mean, often it's billed as expenses, but it's like a fee. Most clubs do.
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do. I presume that they do. Everybody does pay, and everybody's got different agendas. Like I say, I don't think there's a right or a wrong. I think if people want to pay the players and they want to get out of the division and they want to progress, I think it's each to their own. We're quite different. We've got, like I say, I don't think there's many clubs in the area that've got as many people affiliated to the club as we have, and it's just important that we kind of, like I said earlier, put that team out there for the people in the future to go and play for.
But you want to get out of the division.
We do want to get out of the division. Don't get me wrong. Of course we do. And I suppose that's what we're looking at.
Is it because you can't afford to pay the players and the club can't afford to pay you, or is it a point of principle? I think
it's a bit of both. I think it's because we've got a close link to our junior section, rightly so, and I think that. A proportion, the junior teams pay to play, so they pay subs like any other junior team. So I just think it's a bit of principle that it's not what we're about. Will it happen in the future? I'm not too sure.
It's very unusual. I mean, I'll come on a bit later to the question of how you attract players and how they attract a manager as well. Well, you know, are you doing all right? Yeah. I mean, you might get some offers, you know, clubs that might actually pay you. You never know. But we'll go back to Matt, because we're going to have a look at a clip shortly. Talking finance about making a film, because you've self-funded this.
Like I say, most of it was time, to be honest. Like kind of juggling time with this project and then with a full-time job. That was most of the expense.
You're actually a digital. It says here on my script. It says you're a digital media designer at Sheffield University. Yeah. And a freelance filmmaker. So it's that secondary thing.
Like basically, kind of within the uni, you get some departments where you can basically, they'll ask you for work, but it's not within your particular remit. So I kind of say, I can do this outside of work, basically. So that's kind of like what I've done, and I got to the point where I was kind of a bit sick of it and wanted to do something more personal. That was the aim with it anyway. Like, because a lot of the time you're kind of doing it for, you know, a set amount of money and a set budget and a set limited time that you have to kind of do it by. Whereas this is kind of more like, you know, I don't want to put a deadline on it. I just wanted to kind of, you know, spend some time and just basically enjoy what I was doing again, because I kind of got to the point where I was getting a bit sick of doing it.
So it's kind of labour of love.
I
think you were telling me a 75-minute film based around the fans, the characters in the crowd, and things like that. So how much did it actually cost you to make?
In terms of actual cash, it's probably cost me less than a couple of £100.
Really?
Because I mean, the only thing I really had to pay for was there was a studio, a music studio, where I hired it for an hour or two, and I got some guy to record some music. So there was that, and then there was some public, like there was a nice chap called Phil who runs a drone company. And after the trailer went out, he commented on the video and said, I'd like to have done some aerials. I said, well, you still can. Right. And he happily said, I'll come and do it for nothing for you. And basically, I just paid the public liability insurance on that.
For sending a drone up.
For sending a drone, to the council. And then there's another chap who volunteered called Sean. He helped me. He, like, from when the club put it out, he emailed to say, like, if you want any help with it, I'd happily help. So he kind of, a lot of people sort of got involved you know, just because of the same thing, the love of it really. And like I say, the only real costs have been small things to do with booking studios, and the initial trailer had a piece of music on that I found a guy on Facebook who I'd seen in Sheffield. He's like a piano player. And I had a chat with him and said, what would you charge to do this? And he said, well, I've not really done it before. How about we swap roles? So he basically did me some music and I did him a film. Yeah. So we kind of did a bit of a creative exchange, I suppose. So it's kind of doing a bit of Del Boy work, I suppose, kind of just doing whatever you can to avoid having paying too much out.
But I do know, which is a subject we've come on to, that in order to get it out further in terms of online, etc., you are going to have to raise some cash. We'll come to that in a minute, because quite clearly there are things that you include that rights are attached to, etc.
Yeah.
But you've kindly furnished us with a couple of clips. I mean, let's first of all have a look. This is one that features the very well-known Sheffield artist, good friend of mine as well, Pete McKee, whose work has adorned and made acceptable many a column that I've written for the Sheffield Telegraph over the years. This is Pete McKee on how football influenced his work.
My experience to going to football and my childhood and my paintings are all interlinked very, very tightly. I've been a football fan longer than I've been an artist, obviously, and you don't know what you're going to be when you're a kid, when you grow up. But the fact is that having experienced what it's like to have a passion for something and experience the joys and the highs and the lows, it's a great thing for the soul to be able to witness that and to feel that. And football delivers that in spades. The whole ritual of going to a football game and being a football fan, the whole going with your brother or your dad when you're younger and sat inside the club. Everybody's emblazoned in the club colours, all the grown-ups are drinking and you've got that one bottle of Coke. That's an experience that I've had, and it's an experience that 90% of football fans have had.
The brilliant Pete McKee there. And it's about flavour of the fans, the different perspectives of the supporters. We've got a couple of other characters that we're going to feature later. And how nervous were you, or apprehensive, when this was shown at the Showroom cinema for the first time?
Yeah, pretty nervous. I've never done anything like that before. A lot of the stuff that I've done before have been kind of, you know, short videos that are mainly released to the student population, because that's kind of what my role is. So it's never gone really beyond, you know, a certain small audience, and only ever online, really. So yeah, it was kind of like when I got talking to the club and they mentioned this night and that they might put on a screening for it. I was like, I was jumped at the chance, because I don't think there'd ever be a chance where that would happen again, really. So yeah, but like the kind of night itself, it just completely overwhelmed, really, because I didn't know what to expect. I certainly didn't kind of like, you know, initially when they put the prices out for the tickets, I thought, oh God, that could put a few people off.
That was 1867.
1867. Yeah, it was obviously for the they kind of like linked it in with that. But yeah, I thought, oh, that could put a lot of people off. But no, to be fair, it sold out quite quickly, and yeah, it was just the whole night. I didn't expect any of the kind of reaction it got. I didn't really know what to expect, because even going in, I didn't know. I just kind of started doing it. I never had an initial plan. No. I just kind of started doing it, and then it just kind of happened, basically.
Yeah, and there's going to be at least another screening happening.
So the plan is that I think the club are announcing details hopefully tomorrow. I look a bit of a wally if they don't now, so I hope they do. But yeah, supposedly tomorrow. But yeah, there's hopefully going to be at least one more screening in a different venue, and then possibly more. But it kind of depends on demand, really. It depends how well it goes down.
And you're going to charge less this time, yeah?
Yeah, well,
not 1867.
No, I think I get to kind of have a say in the price for it, and yeah, it's going to be less, but it's aiming to hopefully the money from it will pay for the licenses of certain music and clips within it, which means I'd be then free to release it. And the plan is to release it for free, kind of online. And then, yeah, depending on how much is raised, I suppose that there might be some left over for a small kind of DVD run, but I don't know how many people use DVDs anymore.
So the funny thing is, if you were to put it out on DVD, the way the internet works these days and the way social media, it's only on DVD for a short time before somebody's copied it, and they've actually tweeted it. You know, because I did some videos back in the 80s. One of them was on Sheffield Wednesday, and every so often...
I might have nicked some of your clips at some point.
Well, you may, I don't know. If there was a Martin Hodge interview or something, or Alan Smith, the physio back in the day, that might have been Howard Wilkinson. But it's there, it's out there on Twitter and social media. So kind of, you're asking people to pay for the DVD, you know.
Well, I think that's, like I say, that's more of a thing that it might not happen. That it just depends on, like I say, if there's enough raised to do a DVD run. But the priority is to pay for the licenses so that it can go out for free. You know, the plan was always so that everybody could have access to it. You know, there's not just Wednesday fans in Sheffield. There's Wednesday fans all over. Like. You know, so, you know, they've kind of been in touch saying, oh, is there any chance we'll get to see it? And the New York Owls kind of got in touch and they wanted to do a screening over in New York. And so, you know, like the idea was that it would be accessible for all Wednesday fans, really.
Excellent. Chris Millington again. We talked about your policy of not paying anybody, and that includes you. How do you manage to attract players then? Clearly you do, because you're fourth in the table. How do you manage to attract? What carrots do you dangle to get them to come and play?
As a management team, we've been there about 18 months now, just over. And when we kind of inherited the team, I mean, I played for them going through the leagues, Dronfield Town, and it was always based on local players playing for the local team. And since we kind of got into the North East counties, a few have gone and played elsewhere, so we kind of spoke to them and got them back into the squad. And we've got an under-19s team now that are quite successful, and they're players that are ready to come and play for us. We've had 3 or 4 that have played for us at the moment, and I think it's fair to say that players bring players. So players want to play with good players. I think they want to turn up on a Saturday and play with players that are good, and it's making it more enjoyable.
And the money's secondary to them.
I think I've always said that if you get, I mean, there's people paying big money, there's people paying small money, if you like. But if you get the kind of player that comes for £20, he'll leave for £25. So then you're never getting the kind of player, or you're never getting the consistency that you need to do well in this league. So we've got a couple of there's probably 8 or 9 local lads now that play for the club that are in the first team squad on a regular basis. We've got some good young players. We've kept some players that were there before we got in. And I think it's just about, you know, treating people right, treating people, being honest with them, letting them know why they're not playing if they're not playing, what they need to work on in our opinion if they want to get better. And also having tough conversations with people if it's not working out as well. I think it's quite easy just to, if people aren't playing or not going to make the grade, just to ignore them. But I'd like to think that we're quite honest and we treat them right, and we're honest in the reasons why they're not playing. So
sounds like a lot of pride in the team, actually. Because they're playing for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think so.
Nobody's holding them to a contract or anything like that. It's you're there because you want to play.
Yeah, and I think that's evident in a few of the wins that we've had recently. We've gone behind. I think we've been behind in 3 of the 5 games that we've won in. So it just shows the character of the team at the minute and how together the lads are. They all stay for a drink after. They all socialise together, or they're starting to. So
who buys the drinks?
Not me.
The club buy the drinks, or they have to pay for their own drinks as well.
When we have
so you do pay
a good result. Yeah,
you pay for drinks.
Yeah.
I think Hallam must regard you as their bogey team, because I saw you win at Hallam 4-1, I think, last season.
Yeah.
And then you've beaten them this season as well.
We've beaten them this season. They beat us at our place late on last year, where they played really well. But yeah, we've got a couple of 3 or 4 ex-Hallam lads. So, you know, when you go into a game when you've been when it hasn't worked out for you somewhere, you're a little bit more determined, aren't you, to prove things, prove them wrong. Yeah. So
I imagine at times it's difficult to keep hold of players though in the real world. The real world being what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a couple of big players who've been offered big money, if you like, this pre-season, but they've decided to stay with us.
They've decided to stay despite
they like
money.
What we're doing, yeah. And
this guy's got a secret. We'll go more into this with Chris Millington, manager of Dronfield Town, and with Matt Exton of the Wednesday Film, all Wednesday in about 5 minutes. Hope you can join us for part 2. More clips too.